Zarowitz, and then MP Helen after that. Yeah, MP Samari.
Mr. Chair, on December 5th, 2024, this committee received a 1064 request for an emergency meeting to discuss the possibility of inviting the Minister of Finance to appear at committee. The Chair decided to accommodate the 1064 request within an existing meeting as opposed to requesting resources for an additional meeting during an in-camera meeting of the committee. The clerk of the committee published a notice of meeting on December 6, 2024, outlining the agenda for the meeting, including that it was in camera. The Honourable Member for Calgary Forest Lawn, Mr. Hallen, then posted on social media platform X, formerly known as Twitter, on December 9, 2024, an altered notice of meeting for the December 10, 2024 meeting, incorrectly showing the text secret meeting within the agenda. I have a printed copy of the post I will share with the Chair for his information. Procedure and Practice 3rd edition specifically lists deliberately publishing a false or misleading report of the proceedings of the House or a committee is a form of contempt of Parliament. I would argue that a notice of meeting published by the clerk of the committee is a report of the proceedings of Parliament. It's exceptionally inappropriate for anyone, especially an honourable member of this place, to deliberately doctor a publication of Parliament to fit a political agenda and to utilize it in the Conservative Party's continued campaign of disinformation to Canadians. Therefore, I believe this constitutes a matter of privilege and should be reported to the House, as this matter should be further investigated. I await your decision on the matter, Mr. Chair.
Well, thank you.
Do you need a copy of the...
That would be helpful. MP Zarowitz, thank you. I don't know if anybody else to speak on this. Is anybody who want to speak on this? No? Okay, so I'm going to suspend for, I got to speak to the clerk about this. after some discussions with the clerk and understanding what is in the Green Book. So it is a breach of privilege. That is my ruling. This is a breach of privilege. And now I'm looking to the members what you would like to do with this. So, MP Kelly.
Forgive me, I didn't bring my green book. I don't have one handy, but a question of privilege has to be made in the chamber. Okay, you cannot rule on a question of privilege. You can a member can make raise a question at the earliest opportunity in the House, and it would be for the Speaker to find whether or not the item raised is in fact a prima facie question of privilege, and then the appropriate motion, if the Speaker so ruled, could be made. But it is not for a committee to either debate a question of privilege or for a committee chair to make a finding of a violation of privilege.
Thank you, MP Kelly. I've got MP Samari.
J'ai la même lecture de la...
I have the same understanding of the situation as Mr. Kelly does.
Davies?
I'm also without my green book, but by my memory, I believe it's the case that the chair, when a question of privilege is raised at committee, does not rule on the merits. He just rules on whether it raises a prima facie case of privilege. And if that's the case, which I think is your ruling, it then comes back to the committee to decide what to do with that, which can include actually the technical thing is to write a report or send a report to the House. And then that's where I think it's dealt with. That's my understanding of the proper procedure.
And that has been my understanding, MP Davies. And so, yeah. And we'll just read from the Green Book here. Oh. Thank you, Clerk.
So page 1060 of Bus Gagnon says that if a member wishes to raise a question of privilege during a committee meeting or an incident arises in connection with the committee's proceedings that may constitute a breach of privilege, the committee chair allows the member to explain the situation. The chair then determines whether the question raised in fact relates to parliamentary privilege. If the chair determines that the question does relate to parliamentary privilege, the committee may then consider presenting a report on the question to the House.
So I think that's how MP Davies spelled it out. So that's where we are right now. So I'm looking to the members. Yeah, MP Baker.
So what would writing, like what, I just want to understand the options, right? So we can write a report to the House. I'd love to know what that involves. But if we were choose not to do that, what would the alternative be?
Okay, so I will, okay, that was quick. There is no alternative. So this would be presented to the House if the members so decide. And it would just go to the House, and then the House would rule, or the House would.
A member could raise the question of privilege based on the committee's report.
Okay, and then a member would be able to raise the question of privilege based on the report, if we so decided that, in the House. Yeah, MP Zerowitz.
If you just follow through on that and write a report based on your ruling, then can we just adjourn debate after you've decided you will do your report, or do we need to continue to debate?
Okay, we're going to for a sec. so decided to do this as a report, to move on this report, once that decision is made, a yes or a no, then we would move to back to our order of business, which would be the green finance. Yeah, MP Zerowitz?
I'm going to be very honest, Mr. Chair, because I don't want in any way to not be dealing with the 106.4 today. I just want to sort of put that out right now. The reason I had raised this question of privilege, I'll be honest, I thought you were going to then say, oh, I will take it away, and then I will rule, and I will come back to you at the next meeting on this particular matter. So that's what I had expected you to do, and you were highly efficient with our Mr. Clerk there in coming back with a ruling so quickly. But what I don't want to do at this moment is hinder our conversation about the 106.4, so I just want to mention that right now. Is there a way for us to I'm just asking this as a question, adjourn the debate on this right now, shift over to 106.4, and then come back to this at the next appropriate moment?
Okay. Okay, so. Pete Zerowitz, yes, that is your privilege to be able to do that, yes.
Okay, so,
And then you'd be able to come back to this.
yes, so, Mr. Chair, if I could adjourn the debate on this for right now, and for you to bring this conversation back at a future meeting.
Adjourn
I'm
debate
sorry?
on this.
I
particular
would
topic.
move-
Yeah, yeah, yeah. Oh, yeah.
Okay. I move to adjourn
Debate.
debate.
Okay. It's not debatable. Okay, so adjournment of debate. Members,
What?
this is on the question of privilege right
Okay.
now. Yeah.
Yeah, agreed,
Members,
agreed. We all
agreed?
agree.
Everybody's in agreement?
Adjourn debate on privilege.
Okay, we are back, and we're now back to, now we are going to the, are we on the green finance now?
Well, we're following
Well, we're following the notice of meeting.
because the
Be-
motion was to go in public, not to go.
Yeah, yeah. The motion was to go in public. That was the motion. And the sequence that we were in, we addressed that motion. We went into public, but we were on green finance when we left. We were on green finance is where we were. So we are on green finance at this time, members. So on green finance, members,
order.
pursuant to standing order 108(2) and the motion adopted by the committee on Tuesday, March 7, 2024, the committee
Point of
is,
order?
what's the point of order?
You had, it appeared, consent from, it seemed like everybody around the table to ensure that we do go to the 106.4
No,
as
that's not
opposed
correct.
to.
What we voted on, MP Kelly.
I understand,
Yeah, yeah.
but I also heard Ms. Zerowitz say, if I understood her correctly, that we could go straight to
That-
debating the 106.4 since we are in public, and this is the place to have that debate. So I think you had consensus to move to that. If you do not, then we can determine that. But it seemed to me that you did have consensus to move to the motion that Mr. Halan was to make. And he was actually next on the speaking list at the time that you recognized Zerowitz for a second time.
Okay, on the breach, that's when I recognized MP Zerowitz because it was on the breach. So, okay, so I did have, I saw P.S. Bendayan's hand go up.
I'm just seeking clarification, Mr. Chair, as to whether or not we are in public or
We are in public right
in
now.
camera.
Yes.
It is my understanding that we cannot discuss the green finance report if we are in public, but
It is,
I
P.S.
defer
Bendayan,
to-
you are correct. It is unusual to discuss a draft report in public. It is unusual to do that. So if members so decide that is not, but the sequence that we left on when we were in camera to going into public, where we are right now is the green finance.
C'était très bien. C'était une question de clarification et
It's a clarification question. I see my colleague Sophie Châtel, who is ready to discuss the report in question. So thank you, Chair.
not get the translation there. That you know this. Is it working? The interpretation?
This is the interpreter. Can you hear me? This is the interpretation.
I apologize if you could repeat, P.S. Bendayan.
Oui, c'était simplement pour...
Yes, it was simply to clarify where we are, Chair. And I see that my colleague, Ms. Châtel, the MP, is ready to discuss this report if you'd like it.
Okay, thank you. P.S. Bendayan, yes. MP Kelly.
I move that we proceed to the 1064 motion.
Okay, so. Silversbury, okay. So members, this is to move to the 1064. Okay, start the vote, yeah.
Mr. Baker,
No.
Ms. Zerowitz,
No.
Madame Châtel.
No.
Madame Châtel dit non. Ms. Thompson,
No.
Ms. Bandayan,
No.
Mr. Chambers, Mr. Halan,
Yes.
Mr. Kelly,
Yes.
Mr. Morantz,
Yes.
Monsieur Sainte-Marie,
Oui.
Mr. Davies.
Oui.
Yes pour 6, nays contre 5, 5.
Okay, and move, so we are moving to the 1064. And I see, okay, MP Hallen, P.S. Bendayan,
Good.
MP Sainte Marie. Yeah.
Thank you, Chair. I'm glad we're on to the 1064. I move that the Minister of Finance be invited to appear at committee for 2 hours by December the 17th, 2024, and should the Minister not appear in accordance with this motion, the Chair be instructed to report to the House the committee's recommendation that it be empowered to order her attendance for 2 hours at a date and time the committee fixes. We know that through the PBO's report that the Finance Minister has blown past her projected deficit of $40 billion. This was supposedly forced by the Prime Minister. We also know that she, in her own words, indicated that she would be blowing past her own deficit. This is very concerning at a time when GDP per capita has been declining for 6 straight quarters. There's 2 million Canadians lined up at food banks every single month, and Canadians are struggling to make ends meet today. Canadians need to know the truth. It's very shocking that for the first time that I know of, a fall economic statement and public accounts will be released on the last day of the sitting in this session. And it's concerning because it seems like the government might have something to hide. So Canadians need to know how bad this deficit really is and how much pain that's going to cause. And I'll leave it there at that. I hope we can get to a vote quickly.
Thank you, MP Hallen. I have P.S. Bendayan on next, and then MP Sainte Marie, then MP Davies.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. Appreciate the intervention of my colleague. Appreciate the sentiment which he is bringing the motion today. I would note that we are December 10th and that the motion is essentially requesting the minister to appear sometime during the next 5 days. As all members of this committee are well aware, we are planning on tabling publicly the fall economic statement on Monday the 16th. And I am very much looking forward to hearing the reaction and certainly the questions that folks around this table will have on that document. I would like to ensure that people have those numbers before questioning the minister. I think that would make the appearance of the minister the most productive. The minister has appeared prior to the fall economic statement, both before the Senate and before the Industry Committee. And as the record shows, there is not a lot that we can delve into during those rounds of questioning because we do not yet have the numbers before us. I would also note that we have always had the Minister of Finance appear on the economic statements bill of implementation bill, or on the budget implementation bill, or on a finance bill that comes to Finance Committee. We have not had a bill come to this Finance Committee over the last 2.5 months since we started the fall sitting. And for various reasons, including most notably the fact that the House of Commons has been obstructed by the Conservative Party, we needed to move alternatively in order to get the GST bill through the House of Commons in an unusual way, Mr. Chair. I would like to reaffirm the interest of the Minister to appear at this committee, and I have an amendment to propose to colleagues around the table that I would like to circulate at this time. I will move it verbally and then circulate the paper copies that all members may see it in writing, that the Minister of Finance be invited to appear at committee for 2 hours at the next available opportunity, with the intent that this appearance take place before the House rises for the winter recess. And I would now invite debate on that amendment. Thank you, Mr. Chair.
Thank you, P.S. Bendayan. And,
Just point of order, do we have a copy of the original motion?
Literally 30 seconds ago.
it just went out to your emails.
It just went out to our
just
emails.
on
Thank you.
Yeah, if you could take a look. Okay, and I have next is MP Samari to speak.
Oui, merci, Monsieur le Président. Première.
Yes, thank you, Chair. First thing, asking for colleagues who are presenting recommendations or amendments to send it to the clerk in advance so the interpreters could have them and interpret them properly. This being said, I signed the 1064 because I deemed that it's necessary to have the minister appear at least once this fall before the committee. She did not come before the committee once in the fall. We have many questions to ask her. For example, last June, the change of the inclusion rate for capital gains came into force, and so we didn't have the Ways and Means or the bill or the calendar of the date of implementation of this major change. It was implemented last June. We're now at mid-December, and things are still quite vague. Today in the media, we've learned that there would seem to be friction between the Prime Minister's office and the Deputy Prime Minister's office in terms of economic action with what I imagine are electoral measures. So people who are earning more up to $150,000, but those who have less income don't get it, or maybe removing GST on fast food and other things is debatable. So I think it's important that the minister come to the committee to answer this kind of question. These are major concerns for us. We represent the population, and the media can be aware of this. Now, the minister made a record. She's announcing her fall economic update at the end of fall when there's a lot of snow. That's her own personal record, and to me, it's a historical record. This would be next Monday. The House ends its session on Tuesday. We have a possible meeting next Tuesday. If the minister committed to coming to appear before the committee on next Tuesday, I would be comfortable, but she would have to be there, because otherwise I would say, Chair, she didn't come once in the fall. Last time we saw her, I think, was in May. And where was she yesterday? She was at the Industry Committee. So I think it's a big lack of respect for the Finance Committee. So I suggest that she would come. And after the details, I will look at the amendment of the motion that was presented, and I'll come back to you.
Chambers, then P.S. Bendayan.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. Well, my perspective is maybe slightly different than my colleagues who have appeared. By my research, the last appearance of the minister before this committee was in May of 2024. That's over 7 months ago. Second, on this committee on September 26th, passed a omnibus motion setting out our agreed upon consensus schedule for the fall. And as we all remember, the torturous negotiations and difficulty we had in reaching that. And in fairness, the Conservatives were filibustering at this committee and wasting some time. And it took a lot of us, a lot of effort on all parties' part to come up with a schedule that satisfied everybody. And everybody had to concede something. My colleagues will remember that included agreeing upon 8 pre-budget meetings, proceeding with some of the CRA issues that my colleague from the Bloc and my colleague from the Conservatives wanted. We talked about writing the 2 reports, the green financing and I think there was a report also on financialization of housing. So we remember all that, but also included in that motion on September 26 said the following: that the committee hold pre-budget consultations for the 2025 budget, and that the Deputy Prime Minister and Finance Minister and department officials be invited to appear before the committee, that these meetings be prioritized with the goal of tabling a pre-budget consultation report by Friday, December 13th, 2024. I can only assume, Mr. Chair, that you did extend that invitation to the Finance Minister, and that means that there's been an open invitation for the Minister to appear before this committee for probably for over 2 months. As my colleague pointed out, the Minister did find time to appear before the Senate Banking Committee, as properly so. She appeared before the Industry Committee yesterday and has not found time to appear before what I consider to be her primary committee, which is the Finance Committee. That's why I support the 106 motion to call her before this committee. Now, people have said that my Liberal colleagues have said that one of the reasons that she's been late to issue the fall economic statement is because of the filibuster in the House. That is partially true, but there's nothing stopping the Minister of Finance from issuing the fall economic statement at the Chateau Laurier if she wants to, or be at anywhere she wants. It doesn't have to be in the House. Now, what's happened is if we really want to talk turkey here, the Minister of Finance has dropped the fall economic statement on the second last day before we break for the holidays. And if rumor can be believed, we might expect public accounts to be dropped on Tuesday next week, which is the last day. Now, I don't know that for sure, but that's a speculation I'm hearing. Were we not to hear from the Minister of Finance before that, then we're talking about reconvening in February, months later, to hold the Minister of Finance accountable for probably, 2 of the 3 most important documents she's responsible for tabling in Parliament, beside the budget. So I was initially sympathetic to my Liberal colleagues' position that the Section 106 was filed relatively late. It left only 3 meetings for the minister to appear, and generally we know how busy ministers are. But when I went back and researched and thought, well, she's had an open invitation for 2.5 months. That's been ample time for her to find time in her busy schedule. And to me, it's a fundamental issue of accountability to Parliament. I have a feeling that there's good news in the fall economic statement and bad news in the fall economic statement as well. And I think there might be more bad news than good news in the public accounts if they come. I would point out as well, public accounts, by my research, and there's people with far more experience in this room on finance than I have, are typically filed in September or October. They're not filed on the last day. And by the way, if they're not filed on Tuesday of next week, then they wouldn't be filed until, I don't know when, the end of the year or maybe next year. Remember, public accounts provide the final state of affairs fiscally of this government as of the last fiscal year, which ended March 31st, 2024. So I think it's a matter just of primary responsibility to Parliament in this committee that the Minister of Finance appear before this committee and be prepared to answer questions. Now, that she appeared before industry as well is no comfort to me, because that's a different committee that doesn't have the experience or the expertise that this committee has. I was thinking to myself, if the Minister of Industry appeared tomorrow and I had to ask questions of the Minister of Industry, I would not be in nearly as good a position to ask questions as my colleagues on the Industry Committee are. So, you know, this committee has been seized of financial matters for a long time, well, since the beginning of this Parliament, and we are best placed to put what are going to be necessary and questions to the Minister. I will say that I'm attracted to Ms. Bendayan's amendment to this extent, that what I find a little bit heavy-handed about the Conservatives' motion is this idea of reporting to the House and then having us order the Finance Minister back here. That is very unusual for me to see, and I'm more comfortable inviting the Minister, and if I read Ms. Bendayan's motion, if she's invited to appear for 2 hours at her next available opportunity, and by the way, the 2 hours is also a bit of a concession. I can't remember a minister that's ever been in a committee for more than 1 hour. I may be mistaken, but the norm is 1 hour. And then it says, with the intent that this appearance take place before the House rises for the winter recess. So it's a clear invitation to the minister by this committee that we want her to appear before Tuesday without the heavy-handed threat of reporting back to the House and then us being able to order her. Now, the reason I don't think the heavy-handed approach is necessarily appropriate is because I think, quite honestly, the Minister of Finance will have a lot of questions to answer if she doesn't appear next Tuesday. I mean, if she's dropping a fall economic statement on the nation, and if the public accounts come on Tuesday, and then she decides that she's not going to come to this Finance Committee on Tuesday to answer questions about it and be accountable to Parliament just before it breaks until February, last couple days of January, but effectively February, to answer questions to Parliament, I think that's a very difficult case for her to maintain. And if we do accept the Conservative motion and we report it to the House, we're not going to be able to, I don't think, to call her back to this committee until February anyway, unless we reconvene, I guess, at a different time. But those are my thoughts. I've not made my mind up yet on the amendment or this yet, but I'd like to hear what my colleagues have to say. But I'll conclude by this. One would hope that any Minister of Finance from any party in this House, when faced with a request by the Finance Committee to appear, that's been outstanding for 2.5 months, and with these important documents being filed, and given the state of the Canadian economy, where Mr. Halland could have gone on longer about this, but I agree with him, there are serious, serious issues across this country for many Canadians, and for our businesses, and for our economy, and for our provinces and territories. And so I think that, I would very, very much hope that any finance minister would take his or her responsibility seriously and come before this committee and face the music and be prepared to answer the tough questions that are obviously going to come and that need to be asked. So those are my thoughts, Mr. Chair.
Please, I've got MP Chambers, then PS Bendayan.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. I'll just ask a question to the clerk, perhaps while I have my intervention. Maybe by the time I'm done, he'll have the answer. Could the clerk confirm how many invitations the minister has accepted to come to committee that are not on legislation? The issue is, so while I'm talking, perhaps the clerk would provide to the committee members, for the benefit of new members, that the minister has not accepted one invitation to come to committee by the committee unless she's here to motivate legislation. So there is a track record of the minister ignoring invitations to committee based on past motions with requests to invite. And I have great sympathy for my government colleagues who have to defend a minister who has chosen multiple times to not come to committee. In fact, the only reason the minister was at industry committee yesterday was because it was a House order. Had that industry committee just sent that minister an invitation, which they had done in the past, she would not have come. So the only reason this minister comes to committee are for two objectives. One, to pass own legislation, and two, to avoid. The only reason she comes is to pass legislation or to avoid a contempt of Parliament. Every other time that minister has been invited by any committee in this Parliament, she has not attended. So I respect Mr. Davies' immediate positions about his concern with what he calls the heavy-handed language in the Conservative motion. But the facts bear out that if that part of the motion is withdrawn, we will not get the Minister of Finance. So the history is not on the side of the government on this. I respect that. I actually think the toughest job in Parliament is the Parliamentary Secretary to the Minister of Finance, because you have to constantly play defense on avoiding accountability. And the truth is, the public accounts being tabled on the last day, which is speculative rumor, is done solely for the purpose of avoiding parliamentary scrutiny, to be done in connection with the fall economic statement. Mr. Davies is right. They could table the public accounts anytime they wish, and they could also release the fall economic statement at any time or venue as they choose. There's been 2 Ways and Means motions dropped in Parliament. One with respect to CRA rules and charities. The other, an updated version to the capital gains legislation that we still have yet to receive. There are legitimate questions that I think all members believe the minister ought to be available to answer. But the bottom line is that this committee has had significant challenges in the past with getting the attention of the minister and having the minister accept invitations. Now, I had a wonderful exchange with the minister yesterday. She is very capable of handling questions, even very tough questions. I don't expect we'll get lots of answers, but in my view, the reason that the reporting to the House is in this motion is integral to ensuring that the ministers show up before Tuesday. I would go further, and I also believe Ms. Bendayan, the parliamentary secretary, has made a good suggestion that the minister appear after the fall economic statement. And this could have been easily solved if the minister had shown up in the last 2 months from the open invitation, but this is the position the minister has put herself in by waiting until the last minute. She could have actually come 3 weeks ago, taken the opportunity to sit on the chair on the hot seat, not provided any answers, and just said, oh, you'll have to wait for the fall economic statement. But now it's actually that decision to not appear is now causing us to force her to appear on basically the last day we are here. And frankly, I think it's the most reasonable path forward now. So I agree with my Liberal colleagues who would like to have the fall economic statement tabled before we hear from the minister. I support that 100%. And so after we dispense of the amendment one way or the other, I will move. I'll move an amendment to keep it simple. We'll deal with one at a time. But that the minister appear at the committee following the fall economic statement, but that she has to appear before we leave for the holidays or whatever religious Christmaka or whatever a religious holiday people observe. So, bottom line, every invitation that has been extended to the minister in the past has been ignored. The only reason the minister showed up to industry committee was because it was a House order. Therefore, the only way we're going to get the minister before we leave for the holiday is to have that order written into this motion. So I suspect others may have a differing view on this, but make no mistake, taking the House order and concurrence, potentially the House order out of this motion will mean we will not get the minister. So a vote to do that is a vote to not get the minister, is the basic, my reading of it, having been on the committee, so luckily to be on the committee for 3 years, and this is just where we've evolved to. This is the only way that we're going to get the minister on the timetable that I think people would like. Thank you, Mr. Chair.
Okay. Now we're going to, P.S. Bendayan's next. Thank you.
J'apprécie les arguments de mon collègue. Honnêtement,
I appreciate my colleagues' arguments. I understand. But what I have difficulty understanding, Chair, is that it seems to me that the opposition members are waking up today when we're 5 days from the end of the House of Commons session. And we could have had, the colleague who just spoke has said that we could have been talking about this long before this. I agree with that. In fact, I had imagined that if this had been a priority of the Conservatives to have the Minister of Finance come, they would have raised it before today. And we understand that the committee members want to see the minister after the economic update, which will be filed on the 16th, as I said, and the House rises on the 17th. So I'm not able to confirm the availability of our minister for the 12 hours of the day on the 17th, or during those hours, or the 24 hours. But as was agreed, and there had been discussions amongst colleagues, I believe that it was the committee members were interested in seeing Minister Guilbeault. I was able to determine to fix the date on Thursday, and I think that you sent a notice to all members that the minister is available. So if the members, it wasn't Minister Guilbeault, it was Minister Freeland that had to be convened urgently, we would have done that. But we are where we are. I proposed this amendment in good faith. I understand the concerns and the comments of my colleagues. I also understand the importance for all colleagues to be able to be in their ridings during the holidays and with their families as well in the upcoming holidays. And I'll see what is possible so that the minister could come and take questions on the economic update. But I have to say clearly that the possibility of having Minister Guilbeault come is there for Thursday. But if we're going to continue to discuss this and we don't get to a vote, we would unfortunately be in the situation of needing to cancel the arrival of the minister who's anticipated for Thursday, which would be unfortunate. So we could either continue the discussion or vote on what we have before us.
And then to MP Davies again. I would just like to answer MP Chambers' question. I want to thank the hardworking clerk for having gathered up the information. So every time that the minister has been requested to come to a committee on a study, she has appeared. I'll give you an example. We note that the committee adopted a motion September 21st, 2023 to undertake a study to increase the cost of buying or renting a home in Canada. The Deputy Minister, Minister of Finance, would be available to appear before the committee along officials on this study for 1 hour. She did appear on December 7th, and she came in on that study with officials remaining for the additional hour. And she has appeared before all legislation, so she has always appeared. And members, so she has well, we looked into it. MP Chambers, based on what you asked. So when we have requested, the committee has requested that the minister come before committee on a study, the minister has appeared. And this study actually is not even we have not finished. We're concluding just the PBCs today.
Whatever.
I'm just. I do have a speaker. I had MP Zerowitz and then I have MP Davies. But I just wanted to let you know because MP Chambers did ask and we did look and search through kind of what has happened. And the minister has appeared when requested. So, okay. So now I'm going to MP Zerowitz and then MP Davies.
Mr. Chair, you stole my thunder. I was going to say almost exactly the same thing. Well, he also stole my thunder. I was going to respond because this is a public meeting, and I believe exactly what you said is true. The Deputy Prime Minister has always appeared before committee when she's been asked. The issue that we always had was how many hours. Sometimes she's been asked for 3 hours or 2.5. And so I had pointed out at a number of other previous meetings that the ministers appeared more times and for more hours than previous finance ministers, including conservative ones. Anyways, all that to say, Mr. Chambers, it's not a true statement that she has been avoiding coming here. She has been coming here.
C2,
She's been coming to committee when we have requested. Where we've had a debate in the past was how many hours. In any case, look, ladies and gentlemen of the committee, I would say to you that the proposal by my esteemed colleague is very, very. It's very logical, and I think that we should accept it, that the Minister of Finance be invited to appear to committee for 2 hours at her next available opportunity with the intent that this appearance take place before the House rises for the winter recess. I think that is very reasonable. I think we could sort of finish the debate and we could vote on this and then we could move on to bigger and better things in our lives. Thank you.
For that, MP Zerowitz, I do have MP Davies.
Yeah, just, I don't know this, but I do know this. I do know that the minister last appeared before this committee in May, because I was appointed in April. She came in May and she hasn't been since. And I do know that she has not appeared since the motion was passed on September 26th, so that's a couple months. What I would say is this. I think this is what I think we all are in agreement with this, and I'll speak in terms of what I think. I want the Minister of Finance before this committee on Tuesday next week. That's what I want. I think that's what my colleagues want. Mm-hmm. The question really is, how do we compel that? The issue with the Conservative motion is it doesn't get us there. If you read it, it says that the Minister of Finance be invited to appear at committee for 2 hours by December 17th, 2024, which is next Tuesday. And should the Minister not appear in accordance with this motion, which we'll only know on December 17th, the Chair be instructed to report to the House the committee's recommendation that it be empowered to order her attendance for 2 hours at a date and time the committee fixes. So it's got to go to the House, and then the House has to deal with it. And the House then has to issue, after debate, and assuming the House agrees, which would provide the House's authority to order the Finance Minister to appear. And that's what happened at Industry yesterday. It wasn't from the Industry Committee. It was from the House. So no matter what we do today, we vote for the Conservative motion, we vote for the Liberal motion. We cannot compel the Finance Minister to come before next Tuesday. But I'll say this, that's why I will support Madame Bendayan's amendment, because that is the spirit of it, that we invite her to appear at her next available opportunity with the intent that this appearance to take place before the House rises. But I will put down my marker now. If the Minister does not come on Tuesday before this committee then I will vote for the strongest possible motion when we come back to order her to come before the House. And I would hope that's not necessary, that a committee has to go to the House so that the House orders a Finance Minister to do her duty and appear before a Finance Committee She should not have to be ordered to do that. That's her job. But because there's no way voting for either of the motions won't matter, I'd rather get this motion passed today, because if we don't pass it today, there's no chance for the minister coming before that anyway, I think. So I would support Madame Bendayan's motion, and let's get an invitation to the minister. And last I'll say, there'll be a heavy political price to pay for this minister if she chooses to skip this committee before Tuesday and not come hold herself accountable.
MP Davies, I think that's it for the speaking order. Yes? So members on the motion as amended?
Actually, it's the amendment of Ms. Ben.
Oh, it's the amendment of P.S. Bendayan. That's what we're voting on first.
I will start with Ms. Bendayan.
Oui.
Mr. Baker,
In favor.
Ms. Zarowitz,
En faveur.
Madame Chatel,
Oui.
Ms. Thompson,
In favor.
Mr. Chambers? No. Mr. Halan? No. Mr. Kelly?
No.
Mr. Morans? No. Monsieur Sainte-Marie? Oui. Mr. Davies?
Oui.
Yeas pour 7, nays contre 4, 4.
Okay, P.S. Bendayan's amendment passes. And then we have to go to the
The motion as amended.
motion as amended. So the motion as amended, no?
No more debate.
No more debate on that?
No,
Yep.
some debate. Some debate.
Oh, there is debate, okay. Debate, yeah, Chambers, and so,
The amendment is that she appears on the 17th. It has to be after the fall economic statement, as the parliamentary secretary suggested.
Have in front of you.
All right, fine.
I move no other amendment.
Okay, fine. I withdraw it, Peter.
okay.
Peter, it's withdrawn.
Withdrawn, okay. Any others? No? Okay, so the motion as amended, yes? Okay, the motion as amended,
Ms.
Members?
Bendayan, I will start with you.
Pardon. Oui, en faveur.
Oui. Mr. Baker,
In favor.
Ms. Zarowitz,
Oui.
Madame Chatel,
Oui.
Ms. Thompson? Yes. Mr. Chambers? Mr. Halan?
Yes.
Mr. Kelly?
Yes.
Mr. Morans?
Yes.
Monsieur Sainte-Marie?
Oui.
Mr. Davies?
Oui.
Yeas pour 11, nays contre 0, nil.
okay, it passes. Okay. Excellent, okay. MP Chambers.
Oh, thank you. I just want to confirm, just to clear the air, the appearance by the minister on December 7th, 2021 was in relation to C2. Yeah, it was on. It was a twofer, as you want to call it. It was on legislation, and she answered questions about housing, as she is very capable of doing. So she still only comes to speak about her legislation.
All right, MP Chambers, anyone else? Are we good? No? Okay. Oh, yes, sorry, members, sorry, yes, thank you, clerk. So we do have a budget we need to approve. It was circulated, everything good? Okay, I got to take it to SPLE tomorrow. Okay, great, thank you, and that's approved. And now we're adjourned. Okay, we're adjourned.